All right, guys, y'all told me y'all really liked the risky hitters video, so of course we are going to come out and we are going to be talking about some risky pitchers here. And this is going to be a little bit different because most of the pitchers going at the very top of fantasy baseball drafts are guys that we've seen them for a very long time. We know exactly who they are just because the age curve, just because we understand when you're making this investment into a pitcher, most people aren't going to be doing it solely based on them projecting someone to continue to develop. Most of those guys going at the top, you've already seen them perform for a very long time now. But in the middle rounds, like rounds 5, 6, 7, there are a few guys here where I'm going, you know what? I mean, we don't have the sample size. We don't have this long history of complete dominance for you to be making this pick in them. And of course, we're not going to be talking about DeGrom. We're not going to be talking about Garrett Cole. Those pitchers that are going in the first round. And I know some people would make the argument to be spending a first round pick on a pitcher regardless is a risky investment, as those guys will have a higher injury rate compared to the hitters in that same range. But we're not going to focus in on that because we know that if those players manage to stay healthy, they could easily be league winners. So they're not exactly the most risky assets. But what I will say before we get into the video is, if you have not already, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment telling me what you want to see next, and subscribe to the channel. We are going to be making fantasy baseball videos every single day for the foreseeable future if we get the support on the channel. So go down there and blow it up. All right, so now our first pitcher that we are going to be talking about is a 6'8 monster down in Tampa. We talked about him in a previous video. It's going to be Tyler Glasnow, who right now is the 17th pitcher going off the board. He's the 50th player overall in high-stakes fantasy baseball leagues if you're just looking at average draft position data. And 27 years old. We understand that, yes, he's playing on Tampa. We know that that's a team that got a ton of looks just because their World Series run, and they had all eyes on them, even though it was a crazy season, and I don't think we should be taking too much away from it. You can't ignore the fact that the bias is going to be there. And if we go and look at Tyler, here, I expected more innings pitched in the major league. I expected that you would have seen someone who's 27 years old to maybe already have 400, 500 pitches under his belt. Innings pitched under his belt. Where in reality, in the majors, we only have 315 total innings pitched from Tyler. And in the minors, yes, we have a much larger sample, but we will get to that later on. And in the majors, that sample of 315 innings pitched has brought us a 1.34 whip. So by no means, nothing special there. And a 1.21 strikeout per inning ratio. And if we go down to the minors, this is where, yes, it's a little bit better, but it's in the minor league, and we have a very large sample here, so we had a ton of experience going after these less experienced hitters. And here he pitched 600 innings with a whip that was close to 1.07 and a strikeout per inning ratio that was at 1.33. So I'll say here, what are we exactly drafting when you're drafting Tyler? Yes, you're drafting someone who's 6'8". I mean, just imagine being 6'8" for a second and on the mound. That is such an advantage, but still at the same time, I would much prefer spending this pick on someone that has had the largest sample of dominance at the major league level, someone that provides you more Ks per innings pitched. But right now, Fantasy Pros is projecting him to have an improvement on his career major league numbers, where the reason we are using Fantasy Pros rankings, as a quick side note, I just want to remind everyone, I am by no means a fantasy baseball expert. I think that has become clear with some of the stupid things that I say every video, but I still love fantasy baseball. I still love the major league, and we are going to continue to try to improve our game. But that being said, I can't make my own projections. So what we are going to be doing is we are going to be looking at free projections online, which come from Fantasy Pros. This is not an ad. This is not a sponsorship. I literally haven't even asked if I could use these projections. So it is what it is. But right now they're projecting him to lower this whip down to 1.18 and the strikeout per innings up to 1.31, which is pretty much identical to what he had in the minor league. And I'll just say, I know that 2020 was a decent season, but it was a small sample. It was an extremely weird outlier year where I think I would prefer looking at the season-long numbers and go, you know what? I mean, this is an aggressive projection to have him bumped up his strikeout per innings by 0.1 and his whip lowering by 0.15. So I think maybe he's someone that we are going to be looking to avoid. Okay, so now our next pitcher, I am putting him on this list just because the opportunity cost that it's going to take him, obviously, he is going to be one of the best closers in baseball. But this is going to be Josh Hader. And right now, I know that really he is a very polarizing player and that there's a crowd of people saying, hey, you cannot be drafting a closer this early. Right now, he's going inside the top 60. So you're going to have to spend a 5th round pick on him in those 12-team leagues. 26 years old, pitching for the Brewers. And he's going off the board as the 19th pitcher overall. And here, yes, obviously, we are not going to have a massive sample of his innings pitched at the major league level because he's not a starting pitcher. He's a closer. It's not his job to rack up innings pitched. But in those innings that he has pitched, which were 223 of them, he has been unreal. Literally one of the most elite closers that we have seen in the past 10 years. I mean, his whip is sitting at 0.85 and his strikeouts per inning is up at 1.70. And we go to his numbers in the minor league just because, I mean, that's going to be the theme of this video. It's completely different, but it's because he was a starting pitcher in the minor league where there he had a whip of 1.22 and a strikeout per inning ratio of 1.12. So obviously he is much better off as a closer. And in 2021, Fantasy Pros is projecting him to see 32 saves, a whip of 1.01, and 1.6 strikeouts per inning. So please let me know what y'all think of this. Let me know what crowd you are in. Let me know if you think that it's better to be using many picks on closers later on in the drafts and taking hitters in this range in the 5th and 6th round, or do you think it's worth going out there and taking someone like Josh Hader with your 5th round selection? Please, I don't have a strong opinion on this. I am not smart enough to have a strong opinion on this, so I really want to hear yours in the comment section below. All right, so now our last player that we are going to be bringing up is in that same rotation. This is going to be Corbin Burns, who is pitching for the Brewers, 26 years old, 20th pitcher off the board, and 60th in ADP. So literally he's going neck and neck with the closer, Josh Hader. And here, this is another scenario where we go, okay, we do not have the large sample in the major league. Now, we don't even have a large sample in the minors because he was playing in the NCAA for a while, and I do not really want to be looking at those numbers because I'm not comfortable in trying to kind of translate those over into what we would be expecting with future production. But right now, Corbin Burns is projected to have 140 innings pitched this year, 1.21 strikeouts per inning, and a 1.22 whip. Now, if you look at this compared to what he's had in the majors so far, where, yes, he's only pitched 146 innings. So by no means is this something that is going to be incredibly predictive. But in those 146 innings, he's had a 1.289 whip. He's had a 1.32 strikeout per inning ratio. So here, I think that these projections are a little bit safe. I mean, they're projecting the strikeouts to go down. They're expecting the whip to go down with it. And if you look at what he did in the minors, I think it's safe to project those strikeouts to go down because in the minors, he had 282 innings pitched. And surprisingly, only 1 strikeout per inning. The whip was lower. So I think that this Fantasy Pros projection for 2021 is actually probably very accurate in that they are looking at what he's done so far in his major league career, and they are kind of combining it with what we saw from him in the minor league, going, you know what, he's probably a little bit half and half and not necessarily all in on one of the samples. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. What I really need from you is I need you to go down to the comment section. Let me know what you are doing with Josh Hader. Let me know if you are willing to spend that 5th round pick on your first closer, or if you think that's just too much of an opportunity cost and you should be going hitter with that pick.